that my team and I began to ask ourselves a necessary question before the last election. We spent a lot of time, a year before the last election, and we asked ourselves, how would Kenya continue investing in the infrastructure required for our development, while at the same time stabilizing our economy, responding to all the other challenges that come with it, and navigating the aftershocks of pandemics. We knew that a period of fiscal discipline would be unavoidable, but we also knew that halting development was not an option. I remember this very clearly when I sat with David Ndii, who I'm sure is in our midst here, and Hassan, who is here, discussing how we are going to do things differently. That was 1 year before the last election. And we sat under a tree and we were discussing. They are much more knowledgeable than me in those matters. They schooled me in some of the items. But as Mbadi said, I am also a fast learner. That is where the idea of the National Infrastructure Fund was born. I couldn't put it much more clearly and succinctly than it is stated in our manifesto. And I want to quote for you. This is a manifesto written 4 years ago. An infrastructure fund, I quote, will be established with initial capitalization from privatization proceeds, with a view to progressively reducing financing of commercially viable infrastructure projects from the budget, end of quote. Today, we are doing exactly that. The National Infrastructure Fund is here, and tomorrow in the morning at 8, I will be at the NSC to ring the bell to complete the privatization of the Kenya Pipeline IPO and raise 106 billion Kenya shillings that will be the seed money for the National Infrastructure Fund. It looks too exact to be real, but that is what it is. We would have moved earlier, but as many of you know, our privatization initiatives encountered some headwinds. Around the same time, we sought to expand, for example, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport through a public-private partnership. That proposal also met very strong resistance. Today, I am pleased to announce that the expansion of the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport will be the first major project financed through this new model of financing under the National Infrastructure Fund. Just so that you know, and again, it looks too exact to be real, we just announced the contract for the expansion of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Between 15 and 20 billion shillings from the National Infrastructure Fund, from the proceeds of the Kenya Pipeline IPO, will go to financing the seed money for the expansion of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. We will put in our 15 or 20 billion, pension funds, insurance companies, other collectives. You have the opportunity to invest. We are not talking about next year. We are not talking about in August. The opportunity to work with us in the National Infrastructure Fund is as soon as next month. So the opportunities you have been looking for to invest in commercially viable public infrastructure projects is right here. And our skin as government will be the first one in the game. You will come, and then others will come. As Kili said, this is one of the things they told me when I first appeared at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. It's taken a bit of time, Mr. Kili, but now we are here. See you in the game. The potential for domestic capital is immense. You've just heard the numbers. We have 2.81 trillion of Kenyan money that is available from our pensions and our other collectives. This is money, patient money, that can be used for our national development. Pension money is for pensioners, but pensioners have children. We've been told here by my good friend, the CEO of Africa Finance Corporation. We must use pensions to create jobs for the children of those whose pensions we are managing. That's what he told us. You know, that money must work for the pensioners. It must work for their children. And we now have the structure. We now have the plan to make sure that we channel those resources in the right direction. Make sure that it earns a returns for the pensioners, but also supports our national development. Last year alone, Kenyan pension funds assets grew by 700 billion shillings, representing a 25% increase, bringing total pension assets to 2.81 trillion. In 2023, as Kili said, it was 1.6 trillion. Look at the growth. It's growing by 700 billion every year. It will not be possible for you to invest that money in treasury bills or treasury bonds. We have to look for new asset classes for us. And I want to ask the people in that space to begin to think about new asset classes and to eliminate restrictions that are put on pension money to invest in other asset classes that gives a return, but also helps grow the nation and grow the economy. The annual growth of 700 billion shillings, equivalent to roughly $5.3 billion, exceeds the World Bank's estimate of our total annual infrastructure financing requirement. The National Infrastructure Fund provides a mechanism to channel these long-term savings directly into infrastructure investments. Mobilizing domestic capital will help us solve three major challenges that arise when development depends excessively on foreign financing. The first challenge it will help us solve is the mismatch of investment horizon. Infrastructure projects are long-term assets. Whether you talk about highways, toll roads, energy, and rail, these are long-term infrastructure. They are viable. They are commercially viable, but their gestation period is longer. Look at what we did with the SGR. We took facilities of 15 years and 20 years. That is why it almost crushed us. Now we have an opportunity under the National Infrastructure Fund, to crowd in resources with a long-term view and make those infrastructure projects work for the people investing and for the nation, and make them commercially viable. The second issue that this will help us solve is the cost of capital. Many analysts have shown that Africa consists